I guarantee you that at some point, everything's gonna go south on you.
Ready?
And you're gonna say, this is it. This is how I end.
Commander, Mark is dead.
We have to go now.
Now you can either accept that, or you can get to work. This will come as quite a shock to my crewmates, and to NASA, and to the entire world. But I'm still alive. Surprise. Here's the rub. It's gonna be 4 years for another mission to reach me. And I'm gonna have designed to last 31 days. So I gotta make water and grow food on a planet where nothing grows. But if I can't figure out a way to make contact with NASA, then none of this matters anyway.
We've got an incoming message.
Mein Gott. Mark Watney's still alive.
Woo! In your face, Neil Armstrong.
There must be some kind of way out of here.
Okay, so let's do the math. I have enough food to last for 50 days.
He's going to starve to death long before we can help him.
There's too much.
So I'm gonna have to science the shit out of this.
He's 50 million miles away from home. He's totally alone. What the hell is he thinking right now?
I am the greatest botanist on this planet.
I know how to save Mark Watney.
But we need the Hermes crew.
We either have a high chance of killing one or a low chance of killing 6.
I'm not risking their lives. It's bigger than one person.
No, it's not.
NASA rejected the mission.
So if we do this,
We're talking mutiny. If anything goes wrong, we die.
do you realize how crazy this is? We had no other option.
No matter what happens, tell the world, tell my family that I never stop fighting to make it home.
Hey guys, today we're going to be reviewing a book named The Martian. It was published in 2011 and it became a movie in 2015, and as a huge science fiction fan, I actually bought the book itself. Yeah, smells good, it's paperback and details at the back. I'll read some bits for you. Everyone knew Brendan Hutch would be running missions soon. He'd risen through NASA's ranks as fast as one could in the large, inertia-bound organization. He was known as a diligent worker, and his skill and leadership qualities were plain to all his subordinates. It was page 250. And if I go a little closer to the beginning, log entry Sol 14. I got my undergrad degree at the University of Chicago. Half the people who studied botany were hippies who thought they could return to some natural world system. Somehow feeding 7 billion people through pure gathering, they spent most of their time working out better ways to grow pot. I didn't like them. I've always been in for it, the science. Not for any New World Order BS, which was yeah. There are a lot of curse words in this book, which I'm not going to read. And spoiler alert to those who haven't read the book or seen the film. So in the year 2035, the crew of NASA's Ares-3 have arrived at Accidentia Planitia. The book actually includes a map, which I will show you here. Can you see it? yeah, if you can't, I'll just insert a picture. So, they arrived at Accidentia Planitia for a planned month-long stay on Mars. After only 6 sols, an intense dust and windstorm threatens to topple their Mars ascent vehicle, also known as the MAV, trapping them on the planet. During the herd evacuation, an antenna tears loose and impales astronaut Mark Watney, a botanist and engineer, who was also the protagonist of the book, also disabling his spacesuit radio. He is flung out of sight by the wind and pursued
100 kilometers in diameter, bearing 24.41 degrees.
That's tracking right towards us.
Based on current escalation, estimated force of 8,600 newtons.
What's the abort force?
7,500.
Anything more than that, and the MAV could tip.
Begin abort procedure.
Let's wait it out.
Prep emergency departure. We're scrubbed. That's an order. Martinez, how long before takeoff?
12 minutes.
Visibility is almost 0. Anyone gets lost, hone into my suit's telemetry. You ready?
Ready! Commander, are you okay?
I'm okay!
Hey! We might be able to keep the MAV from tipping!
Watch out!
This is the MAV Theaters Dangerously mission. Commander Melissa Lewis has no choice but to take off without searching for Watney, because she might also endanger the rest of the crew. However, Watney is not dead. A big surprise. His injury proves relatively minor, but with no long-range radio, he cannot communicate with anyone. He must rely on his own resourcefulness to survive. He begins a long log of his experiences. His philosophy is to work the problem, solving each challenge in turn as it confronts him. With food a critical, though not immediate, problem, he begins growing potatoes in the crew's martial habitat, or...
Here's the problem. I gotta make water and grow food on a planet where nothing grows.
He's 50 million miles away from home. He's totally alone. What the hell is he thinking right now?
I am the greatest botanist on this planet.
and burns hydrogen to generate water for the plants. If you don't know, Mark Watney is actually a botanist. The book says that each one of the crew has to have their own separate specializations in order to be effective on every expedition on other planets. NASA eventually discovers that Watney is alive when satellite images of the landing site show evidence of his activities, which I recall the girl who discovered that Watney is alive is named Annie or something.
How sure?
100%. Solar panels have been cleaned.
It could have been cleaned by wind.
Back it up. Look at Rover 2. According to the logs, Commander Lewis took it out, Sol 17, plugged it into the hab to recharge. It's been moved.
Well, why don't we just ask Lewis? Let's get on Capcom and ask her directly right now.
No. If Watney is really alive, we don't want the Ares 3 crew to know.
How can you not tell them?
They have another 10 months on their trip home.
I'm sorry, but you have not thought this through. I mean, what are we gonna say?
He's 50 million miles away from home. He thinks he's totally alone. He thinks we gave up on him. I mean, what does that do to a man psychologically? The hell is he thinking right now?
They begin devising ways to rescue him, but withhold the news of his survival from the rest of the Ares 3 crew. The crew back at NASA did not want the crew who went with Mark Watney to know that they left Mark Watney alive. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. So the Ares crew were on their way back to Earth aboard the Hermes spacecraft, so it won't distract them. Basically, they did not tell the Ares 3 crew that Mark Watney was still alive, so they won't be distracted or conscious that they left someone alive behind. Watney plans to drive 3,200 kilometers or 2,000 miles to Schiaparelli crater, where the next mission of Ares 4 will land in 4 years, and their MAV is already prepositioned. He begins modifying one of the rovers for the journey, adding solar cells and an additional battery. He makes a 3-week test drive to recover the unmanned Pathfinder lander and the Sojourner rover and brings them back to the hub, enabling him to contact NASA. Mitch Henderson, the Ares 3 flight director, convinces NASA Administrator Teddy Sanders to allow him to inform the Ares 3 crew of Watney's survival. They are thrilled except for Lewis, who is guilt-stricken at leaving him behind, which Lewis is actually the commander or the leader of the crew. The canvas at one of the hub airlocks tears due to Watney's repeated use of the airlock, decompressing the hub and nearly killing him. He repairs the hub, but his plans are dead. I think there was an explosion. I pretty much think there was an explosion. Threatening him again with eventual starvation. Setting aside safety protocols due to time constraints, NASA hastily prepares an unmanned probe to send Watney supplies, but the rocket disintegrates after liftoff. Who knows? That's a big bummer. A deal with the China National Space Administration provides a ready booster planned for use with the Tianshan, an unmanned probe to try again. With no time to peel the probe with a soft landing system, NASA is faced with the prospect of building a capsule whose cargo can survive crashing into the Martian surface at 300 meters per second or 670 meters per hour, which, if you ask me, it won't be good. Did I say miles? I think it's meters. Sorry, I'm at 670 meters per hour. However, astrodynamicist Rich Pernell devises a slingshot trajectory around Earth for gravity assist that could get Hermes back to Mars on a much extended mission to save Watney, using the Chinese rocket booster to send a simpler resupply probe to Hermes as it passes Earth. Sanders vetoes the Rich Pernell maneuver, as it would entail risking the other crew members, so he was against it. But Henderson secretly emails the details to Hermes. All 5 of Watney's crewmates approve the plan. Once they begin the maneuver and disable NASA's remote overrides, NASA has no choice but to support them. The resupply ship docks with Hermes successfully. Watney resumes modifying the rover because the new rescue plan requires him to lift off from Mars in the Ares 4 MAV. While working on the rover, Watney accidentally shorts out the electronics of Pathfinder, losing the ability to communicate with Earth, except for spelling out Morse code with rocks. After Watney leaves for Schiaparelli, NASA discovers that a dust storm is approaching his path, but has no way to warn him. The rover solar cells will be less and less able to recharge, endangering him both the rendezvous and his immediate survival, if there is not enough power to run his life support equipment. While crossing Arabia Terra, Watney becomes aware of the darkening sky and improvises a rough measurement of the storm's shape and direction of movement, enabling him to go around it. He was smart, by the way. Surviving a rover rollover on his descent into Schiaparelli, Watney reaches the MAV and reestablishes contact with NASA. He receives instructions on the radical modifications necessary to reduce the MAV's weight to enable it to intercept Hermes during its flyby. The modifications include removing the front of the MAV, which Watney has to cover with the HAV canvas. After takeoff, the canvas tears, creating extra drag and leaving the MAV too low for the rendezvous. Lewis hastily improvises a plan to intercept the MAV by firing Hermes' altitude thrusters and then blowing a hole in the front airlock with an improvised sugar and liquid oxygen bomb. Using the thrust from the escaping air to reduce speed, Beck, the Hermes EVA specialist, uses a maneuvering unit, or MMU, on a theater to reach Watney and bring him back to Hermes.
I visual on the map.
What's the intercept range?
I'm checking.
312 meters.
Did you say 312? Great, I'll wave at you guys as I go by.
I can't get to you, Mark. You're too far.
I'm not gonna make it.
I know.
Beck, unhook me. I'm going after him.
Commander, I got this.
Mark, report.
On my way, Commander.
Damn it. Johansson, what's my relative velocity to Mark?
5.2 meters per second.
Copy. Adjusting course.
meters per second. Distance to target 24 meters.
11 meters to target.
6 meters. Hold on, Mark.
I got him! I got him!
Way to go, Iron Man.
Back, pull us in.
It's good to see you. You have terrible taste in music.
In a final log entry, Watney expresses his joy at being rescued, reflecting on the human instinct to help those in need. Yeah. So, the entire book revolves around the fact that Mark Watney is stuck on the surface of Mars because of an expedition, but was later left by his crewmates because of a dust storm. For any of those who plans on reading the book, there's exactly 435 pages, and I believe the film is 3 hours long, so have fun on that. I finished reading this book within the range of 6 or 7 months. Yeah, I can explain. You see, I was not able to read this book every day, perhaps because I'm a student and I have a lot of things to do, so don't judge me, people. That is all. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Peace out.